Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jacksmiller. So, should government reduce or even stop subsidizing tuition at the University of the West Indies? We're talking financing for tertiary education in tonight's program, and we're so happy that you have joined us. Now, remember, you can tweet along with us on this program. Our hashtag is TVJallangles. My handle is DJ Miller JA. You can also WhatsApp us 3810072. Now, later in the program, we're going to be joined by Dr. Dana Thorburn, Director of Research at the Caribbean Policy and Research Institute. CAPRI recently put out a study that has generated a lot of conversation based on its recommendations. We'll also have with us Christina Williams, President of the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, and Andre Horton, Senior Lecturer at the University of the West Indies. First, though, we went to the University of the West Indies to talk to some students, because one of the things Capri said is that the government does have a role to play in financing university, in university financing, but not to pay for students' tuition. So we went to talk to students who are having problems of their own financing their university education. On this edition of All Angles, we're talking about financing tertiary education. So we've come to the University of the West Indies to talk to some students who are having trouble financing theirs. So how easy has it been to fund your university education?
It is never easy from the start, but I use student loan, to help push me, especially in my second year, right? As it relates to my first year, I first started off by GoFundMe. And it was really difficult. Like, when really difficult, it was really difficult. And seeing at the background that I, come from, it's like it's a little bit rough for my parents and, other family members around in the environment.
Funding a degree for me has been extremely difficult, mostly because I do not qualify for student loan at the Student Loan Bureau. As you know, it's difficult for students to find persons who are willing to be their guarantors. My father doesn't qualify, as he once helped a student that has now put him in a position where he has to repay their loan, and my mother wasn't in her job for a year at the time. So I attempted to get scholarships and work during the summer, some of which was successful. That's how I got to start in the first place. But in terms of paying everything else, I haven't necessarily found the best medium.
So how have you managed to, say first year, how did you manage to get through the year?
For first year, I was working and going to school. That was right before the pandemic. So it was easier to get jobs then. My contract could not have been renewed, mostly because the school could not afford to pay me during the pandemic. I worked at Mona Prep, and it was a good time there, but my contract wasn't renewed. So in my first year, I worked and I went to school, and also at the time, my parents had, the financial situation wasn't as bad as it is now. So they were able to assist me with certain fees during that time.
Well, my financial issues have stemmed since high school, most notably in sixth form when, as soon as I became an 18-year-old, I started working at a BPO center. I sent myself to school because my parents didn't have the funds to send me to school. I had to assist my little sister, who at the time had just started high school as well. So it was between my own school fee and her school fee, and that kind of rolled over into university, where I had to be supplying my own self financially to send myself to university. But it was a little bit different because I decided to put down BPO and start something a little less time-consuming so that I could focus on my studies. However, that didn't work out. It's a lot of money to pay over. My tuition is approximately just a little bit under 300,000, and boy, it was a lot. It was a lot to cover with something that was paying like $15,000 every fortnight. So I had to put down the job. My parents told me to put down the job. They said they'd help me, but you know, things are hard. Times were hard, and they weren't able to help me out as much as I wanted to. And so I had to resort again to finding another job to send myself to school, all the while being super involved at UA, trying to secure as many opportunities as possible because scholarships are there, grants are there, bursaries are there, and the best thing you can do for yourself is to position yourself in a way that people want to help you.
First year, it was really easy in first year, I'm not going to lie. I applied for a student loan. It came through, I did my final exams, and you know, I wasn't on campus per se, I was home most of the time, so everything was okay. You know, I wouldn't have to worry about what am I going to eat or stuff like that. So first year was really easy until second year reality hit. I moved on campus by myself. I started working, and then I had to choose between my degree or my work. So I had to quit my job, and I'm financing myself as it relates to accommodations on hall. However, I'm using SLB. I didn't get SLB in time to do my first set of exams, so now I'm 5 courses behind from last semester, which is 15 credits, so I'm 15 credits behind. I owe hall fees. I can't do any final exams coming. I have an exam tomorrow. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but by the grace of God, it will be done. I'm trying my best. I've been in dialogue with the guild president because, truth be told, I don't owe any fees as it relates to tuition. However, I'm living on hall and I owe fees, hall fees, and the money keeps rolling over every month. 1% keep added to the tuition, so it is growing.
What's been the hardest thing for you this year with the financing?
Definitely missing my exams because SLB did not pay my tuition in time. So I owed semester 1 tuitions, and I only got clear for the first exam, and I did the first exam, and that was it. After that, I missed 5 other exams because my tuition was not paid in time, and the UE decided that they are not going to give any leeway to any individual. So that has been the hardest. I cried myself to sleep every single time I had one of the exams, and my friends were telling me if it was easy or hard, knowing that I did not do it. And it's roughly $16,000 to redo an exam-only course, and I have 5 to redo.
Have you ever found yourself at the beginning of a semester wondering how you're going to find the tuition?
Presently, literally, not just tuition, right, but to facilitate my living here on campus, right, because student loan covers it, but you know, you will roll over, you know, late fines onto my tuition fee, so that's a little bit difficult for me in the sense that, you know, I don't have the money now to pay it off. No, that has been borne me from doing my exams, and it's a little bit rough, like really, really rough. But I'm still, you know, putting my hopes out there because I'm able to do 4 of my exams. And what of the 9?
Help me understand, I'm not sure I understand. If student loan is covering the tuition, then why would you be barred from exams? What would the late fines be for?
Okay, so the late fines would have been coming from the hall fee, right? So usually that wasn't the case in terms of how they roll over the late fines, right? It would have been on the hall fee they would have rolled it over to. But I've seen where they made changes now to roll it over onto the tuition fee that would have caused the bar for many students here on the UA campus. A lot of persons are struggling with that, that's the same. And I just feel like a lot haven't been vocalizing it so that other persons can hear, you know, and understand the concerns to, you know, alleviate the situation.
This would have been my final year if I was able to do school regularly without having to pause. I have had to pause before where I'm literally doing assignments, and at the end of the semester I realized that I wouldn't be able to do my exams, and the only option I had was to take a late leave of absence. That was the only way I could actually continue school. So I'm yet to have a smooth university experience, and sometimes it's quite dampening as I am highly demotivated.
You say that with a smile, but I imagine it must be very frustrating. What is it like when you come to that point? You've done the studying, you've done the assignments, you've done the work, you're ready for exams, and you realize that you're not going to be able to go through.
Honestly, it put me in a place where I question if I'm supposed to even be here. So I took a year off, even before starting university, to try to see if I could make some money for school. That was difficult. I started school, then the pandemic came, and then the next year I had to pull out. So it felt like this is a struggle that I'm putting myself through. Maybe I don't necessarily deserve to be here. Yes, I might have been lucky enough to go to a traditional high school in St. Andrew, but what does that mean here at this level? Sometimes I really want to give up, honestly, even this academic year. But I have a goal, I have a dream, and that is what is driving me to continue.
First year, it was by the grace and mercy of God that I was able to begin UE. But second semester, first year, I had to throw myself straight back into a BPO.
When I just started UE in first year, yes, because I was not too happy with using student loan, because I've heard a lot about, you know, paying back, and it takes a long time to pay back. So when I just started UE in first year, yes, I was going to get a job and say, okay, I'm going to take probably a gap year, but I know that if I take that gap year, it will turn into years and not a year. So I made up my mind and I used SLB because it has to get done, and I don't know, you just have to take that leap of faith and hope it turns out the best for you.
Okay, so when we come back after the break, we'll hear some more from the students, and we bring in our guests after that. And remember, of course, we want to hear from you as well. Our WhatsApp line is 3810072. That's 876-3810072. And tweet us as well. Our hashtag is TVJallangles. We're talking financing, university education. We're back after this.